Good afternoon, everybody. I don't know if you can all hear me. I'll try to do it without the mic. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really happy for this day and to get started in this new place with a house full of people, or as we like to say in Portugal, it's casa cheia. And today I'd like to present you exactly what is Portugal Fintech, give you all the news, who is going to be here. But first, I would like to get started with how we got here. So, Portugal Fintech, as Margarida was saying, started 3 years ago. We're a non-profit association, totally focused in helping the fintech ecosystem grow. So we started helping the startups in 4 main verticals. One of them was connecting to regulators, another one access to capital and finding the best investors, also connecting with the mature players in the ecosystem, most times the companies they sell to or partner up with, and finally access to talent and making their teams grow. We started doing a lot of events back then because it was just about raising awareness and connecting people. And then we also started doing a report. And on this report, we have chapters on regulation, we have the top 30 fintechs, the ones we believe they're really ready to work with the ecosystem. We have exact use cases on how these startups are helping incumbents grow. And finally, we work directly with the founders to get into this report the most detailed data of the ecosystem. And it was precisely by working with the founders that we saw that regulation was a topic that was very important to them. And so we had the opportunity to organize with all the financial regulators the Portugal FinLab. And this was basically a channel, an innovation hub, where you could get an answer on exactly how to operate. After it, we kept working a lot on what we like to call market cooperation. And this is basically any innovator, any company that wants to innovate. We help them go through a process of looking at all the startups in our network, doing a lot of research, and understanding who are the best companies to work with them, and now they can develop their precise use cases. And it was on top of it that we kept thinking, okay, what's next now? How can we keep helping the ecosystem growing? That came the idea of bringing all this to one single place. And that is pretty much the idea of the Fintech House. So the Fintech House is born out of a joint venture between CTU and Portugal Fintech. CTU is the biggest operator of shared spaces in our country. They have more than 10 locations. Only in this semester they are opening 4 more. This accounts for more than 1,000 seats. And this also means that if someone is part of the Fintech House, is part of the CTU network and can use their spaces, can use their auditoriums for events, and all they have in their ecosystem. On top of it, of course, we don't know anything about buildings. we don't know anything on how to put all this together, right? This beautiful building where we are. And so they are bringing all this experience in know-how, and Portugal Fintech is bringing the experience of a community builder to together give the best conditions for startups to grow. And I think this was a pretty good job. Until this point, would be one of the greatest co-works out there. We had the experience of a community, we had some great guys putting this building together, and we were focused in one single vertical. So far it would be great to have this co-work, but we don't want to be just a co-work, right? We want to be an international hub that can give the best conditions for the startups to grow. And in order to do that, I think we had to go one step further and also put here some other partners. And so I'm really happy to present you today the partners that will be going on this road with us. Most of them, and some of them, will actually be living here at the house among the startups to foster this collaboration and to be closer to the ecosystem. Woohoo! So we think they represent pretty much the best of class in each one of the main verticals there are. And here we considered as an enabler, a legal side, consulting side, banking, and also insurance. And so, without further ado, I'll get started with our main partner and representative on the enabler side, and it will be Visa. And with Visa, we're really happy to partner with them. We see them more and more as a fintech, and a fintech that's working with other fintechs to develop specific use cases, but also working for startups in a way that they're developing the conditions they need to then put their products out there. On the legal side,
Spoiler
alert. I didn't want
No one saw anything.
On the legal side, I'm trying to get back to it. Really happy to partner up with Regtech. It's one of the leading firms in our country. They have specific teams dedicated, like Team Genesis, to bring all this experience from the legal side, but then focused on an intersection between financial and the technology side. And we see this as a really important point, as we see more companies coming to our country and wanting to adapt their solution as regulation changes so much, even inside Europe. And that help is extremely important. On the consulting side, I'm also really happy to let you know that we'll be working with Accenture. And Accenture is a partnership focused, as we like to see it, around three main areas. One of the areas is that they can really help startups fine-tune their solutions and design specific use cases, as they have such a broad knowledge across the industry. They can help on the second point, on the integration of those solutions in the clients, and then third, scaling these solutions globally. Then, on the insurance and banking side, we believe these are also very important, since these players are most times the partners or the clients of these startups. So having this knowledge and having a close relationship to them gives them really a huge advantage. And so, on the insurance side, I'd like to tell you that we'll be working with Fidelidade. Fidelidade is also one of the leading companies in our country, in the insurance side, and they have a broad experience on the innovation side, especially with Insurtech. I can tell that Insurtech is at this moment one of the main verticals at the Fintech House. And so definitely this proximity is bringing a lot of value to them. And finally, last but not least, we are working on the banking vertical with BBVA. And BBVA is a global player with a huge infrastructure to give specific answers to the startups where they need it the most. They have programs such as Open Talent and a lot of investment to a great investment on an open marketplace and APIs. And so if you look at all these players, what we see here is that all they share some common traits. One of them is really a dedication to working with startups, and they have a proven track on it. They have experience from working with them. And on the second point, they are committed to collaboration. They all shared with us this idea of a place where we all can be and work together to develop better solutions. I'd also like to tell you that on top of it, we also wanted to work with some more partners. And as technology and infrastructure is more and more important, we'll be counting with the help of Microsoft, especially on Microsoft for Startups. We'll be counting with the help of Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud and the Google Cloud Platform, and DigitalOcean on these infrastructure and cloud partners. And finally, we'll be having the support of IDC in market intelligence. And so now I think we are even one step further. We moved from being a co-work to being an international hub. But if you really want to foster collaboration between all these players and close the gaps we see in the industry between them, we had to create some more process along the way. And that's precisely where Portugal Fintech comes in. And that's precisely where this community comes all together. And so we created a few features I'll tell you about, at least speaking about 4 really quickly today, that I think can enhance this proximity and make this the best place for startups. One of the main points here are services and perks. So you're not having just those regular discounts at your best SaaS products in the market that you need to work with, but you can also find across the Fintech House players with experience that can help you on tasks that you just don't want to be focused on. For example, as we will see here, you can find in the house seed accounting to take care of your accounting things that you need to take care of. You can also find like PR and marketing agencies like Dr. Spin, and the same goes on and on to data science, UX, and many other areas. Second point, an HR portal. So basically a place where startups can put their opportunities and find the best people in the market to build their teams. We're also having a learning portal. So a website where I have all the content that the startups need on the legal side, technological side. So any company that comes in 1 year from now can still, for example, look at all the talks that were given. They can see me going wrong on this presentation with the partners, and everything will be there to be shared. And finally, a virtual membership. If we really want to be an international hub, if this is actually a place, an European place that chose to be in Portugal, we need to welcome startups from all over the world. And so through the virtual membership, any startup can connect and take advantage of this community, accessing the perks, accessing the events, the learning portal, so on and so forth. But finally, and to close this gap once again, I think we also need to create conditions to approximate any other player. And what I like to see the Fintech House is a place that any person that steps in here can in some way add something to your business. And as Portugal Fintech, I see our role as basically trying to bring as many of those people to help you on your business. And to do this, we want to make the Fintech House open to any player in the market. So not only being the best place for startups, but being the best place for innovation and collaboration. And so here, any player can access the global network. They can see the best startups to develop their solutions. We have a premium infrastructure. This is a great overview point for any investor that comes from Europe and wants to see what's in our market or what's in our community to invest in. It's also a great place to meet with clients and put together all these pieces. If I am, as a bank, want to develop a solution with a startup, I can come here and I can meet with the infrastructure partner, or I can meet with a consulting team that will integrate my services, or with the legal team that will tell me exactly if I can use this way. We want to have the best events, and the one Margarida just told you about is a great example of that. You can attend the events that will be happening here, and you can also organize your own events. And finally, acceleration and innovation. These being a place where companies can run sprints, can accelerate their developments with the startups in a totally new environment until they're ready to go to market. And finally, now I think we have the conditions to being an international hub that can give the best conditions for startups to grow. In a nutshell, being the must-go place for fintech, today in Portugal, maybe a couple months from now, also in Europe. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you around the Fintech House.